Greetings to you all and welcome back to Into a Different Realm, the AI-generated visual novel. Most everything here is created by AI, stretching from the backgrounds to the characters to the dialogue to the music. With each new part of the series, we like to push the AI further than before, and so this time, I have a few upcoming snippets to whet your appetite with. First, the AI is going to take a stab at animation. That's right, usually I do what can generously be described as animation manually. It's nothing much, we just make a character flip here and there, we call it a day, simple stuff. But this time, I've entrusted two of the more complex animations entirely to the AI, to see if you can spot its two attempts. And if AI-powered animation doesn't grab you, then how about some good old smut? There was an image generated for this episode, using the in-story description, and it came out not exactly safe for YouTube. The end result is that I had to regenerate that particular image, but see if you can guess which one it was. Right, consider yourself baited. Let's get the show on the road. Chapter 4. Ortega woke up to the sound of his stomach growling. He sat up and looked around at the rest of his team, who were also stirring from their slumber. As they got up and started packing up their campsite, the reality of their situation hit them. "I don't know about you guys, but I'm starving," Mina complained, rubbing her belly. "Me too," Yamada chimed in. "We didn't bring enough supplies for this long of a trip." Kagami, who had been quiet up until this point, spoke up. "Perhaps we should split up, and each try to find food in our own way." Ortega frowned. "I don't think that's a good idea. We should stick together." "But if we all go looking for food together, we'll just scare away any potential game," Kagami pointed out. Yamada nodded in agreement. "He's got a point. And who knows, maybe I'll come across some wild berries or mushrooms or something." Mina shook her head. "I don't trust you to forage for food, Yamada. You're a chemist, not a botanist." Yamada bristled at the insult. "Well, I'm certainly not going hunting with you two. I'm not about to become a murderer." Ortega rolled his eyes. "Come on, Yamada, it's just hunting, and we need food to survive." Mina nodded in agreement. "He's right. We'll have to be stealthy, though. We don't want to make too much noise and scare off any prey." Ortega and Mina set off in one direction, guns at the ready, while Tagami headed off in another, hoping to find some sentient creatures to communicate with. Yamada remained behind, pondering his next move. As the team split up to find solutions to their food shortage problem, the mischievous imp watched them from a distance. After observing each member of the team, the imp decided that Yamada would be the most interesting person to follow. With a sly grin on his face, the imp quietly trailed behind Yamada as he walked deeper into the woods. Yamada seemed oblivious to the imp's presence, lost in thought as he tried to come up with a plan to save his hungry friends. Little did he know that the imp was about to make his day much more interesting. Ortega and Mina trekked deep into the woods, armed with nothing more than a few twigs fashioned into a crude bow and arrow. "This is ridiculous," muttered Mina, eyeing their makeshift weapons with disdain. "I have no idea what I'm doing." "Come on, Mina, it can't be that hard," replied Ortega, not sounding particularly convincing. They had barely entered the woods when they spotted a small rabbit hopping nearby. Mina nervously raised her bow, only to accidentally let go of the arrow too soon. It flew wildly off course and thwacked Ortega in the shoulder. Ow! What the? The rabbit bounded away, apparently unscathed. Ortega glared at Mina, who was trying her best not to laugh. Okay, maybe we need a little practice, he admitted. But things only got worse from there. They stumbled upon a clearing filled with deer and took aim, but Mina's arrow went wide and startled the animals. In a panic, they both fired wildly, not caring who or what they hit. Soon enough, the forest was alive with the sounds of angry beasts. Ortega and Mina sprinted away as fast as they could, dodging trees and jumping over logs. A bear suddenly appeared out of nowhere and began chasing them, growling angrily. "Shoot it! Shoot it!" yelled Ortega. But Mina's hands were shaking too much to even hold her bow steady. In desperation, they both climbed a nearby tree and huddled together, watching the bear circle the trunk below. "This is all your fault," muttered Ortega, glaring at Mina. She just rolled her eyes. After what seemed like hours, the bear eventually lost interest and wandered off. Ortega and Mina climbed down from the tree, covered in sweat and scratches. As they walked back to camp, they couldn't help but laugh at their own ineptitude. At least they had a good story to tell. Tagami strutted through the forest with his nose high in the air, certain that he was going to find a solution to the team's food problems with ease. As he walked, he couldn't help but smirk at the thought of his less competent teammates struggling in the wilderness. Suddenly, he hears a rustling in the bushes and, to his surprise, he comes across a group of friendly mushroom-like creatures known as fungimancers. "Ah, finally, some competent creatures," Tagami said to himself, sensing their inherent magic. He introduces himself as a summoner, and the creatures are impressed, offering to help him find food and shelter. Tagami is initially taken aback by the fungimancer's strange manner of speaking, as they talk almost exclusively in riddles and metaphors. One fungimancer tells him, "The whispers of the wind carry the answer to your hunger. Listen carefully, and you shall find sustenance." Tagami, frustrated and hungry, is initially confused by their words, but decides to play along. He asks them for help finding food, to which they respond, "In the shadows of the ancient stones, the dancing flames reveal the secret of the old bones." Tagami, growing increasingly impatient and hangry, struggles to make sense of the fungimancer's cryptic messages. Another creature chimes in with a metaphor. "The earth's moist embrace holds the key to your salvation." This prompts Tagami to start scouring the forest floor for any signs of life. He spots some moss growing on a nearby rock and eagerly goes to pick it, thinking it might be a type of edible fungus. However, as he puts it in his mouth, he realizes his mistake. The moss is slimy and tastes foul. In frustration, he summons one of his own creatures, a large and menacing demon that he often keeps in reserve for battles. Sudden appearance of the creature startles the fungimancers, causing them to flee in terror. Tagami is left alone, still hungry, and now also covered in moss. Yamada comes across a field of mushrooms and decides to gather some for dinner. However, the mischievous imp secretly switched some of the mushrooms with ones that have hallucinogenic properties. Yamada happily collects mushrooms from the field, carefully selecting the best looking ones. He's pleased with his haul and eagerly prepares them for dinner. As he takes a bite, the world around him starts to warp and twist. Suddenly, the mushrooms don't look quite as appetizing as before. The mischievous imp giggles in the background, knowing what's coming next. Yamada starts to feel as if the mushrooms are taking over his body. His vision blurs, and he stumbles around laughing uncontrollably. He sees a group of talking trees nearby and runs over to greet them. "Hello, friends," he slurs. "I'm here to join your party." The trees stare back at him in confusion, not quite sure what to make of this human acting like a fool. Yamada continues to talk to the trees, completely unaware of how ridiculous he's being. As the night goes on, Yamada's hallucinations become more intense. He starts seeing strange creatures crawling out of the ground and flying through the trees. He tries to catch them, but they always seem to slip away from his grasp. At one point, he sees a giant toad with a top hat and a monocle. The toad looks at him sternly and says, "Good evening, sir. Might I interest you in a game of croquet?" Yamada eagerly agrees, but as they start playing, he realizes that the toad has no idea how to play croquet. They spend the next hour stumbling around, whacking the balls randomly. Finally, as the hallucinations start to wear off, Yamada finds himself back at the campsite. He's completely disoriented and feels as if he's been gone for weeks. The imp appears in front of him, grinning mischievously. "I see you've had quite the adventure," he exclaims. Yamada groans and rubs his head, still feeling the after effects of the mushrooms. He knows he'll never trust the imp again. Ortega, Mina, and Togami all returned to the campsite, looking defeated and hungry. The imp couldn't help but giggle at the sight of his friends. "Well, well, well, what do we have here?" the imp teased. "A group of hungry adventurers returning with nothing to show for it." "Shut up, imp," Ortega growled. "You didn't exactly help us out there." "I don't recall anyone asking for my help," the imp replied with a sly grin. Mina let out a small chuckle. "I think we all learned our lesson. The woods are not as kind as we thought they would be." Kagami nodded in agreement. The Fungimancer's riddles were completely useless. "I ended up tripping on mushrooms and seeing dancing frogs," Yamada added, with a hint of embarrassment. The group burst into laughter, their hunger and exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "Well, at least we're all in this together," Ortega said, patting Yamada on the back. "We'll find food eventually." The imp cackled. "Oh, I have an idea. More than just an idea. I have the solution to all your problems." Tagami raised an eyebrow. "You do? And what exactly is this miraculous solution?" The imp grinned mischievously. It's simple. All we have to do is catch some fish from that stream over there. He pointed to a small stream that ran through the woods. Mina snorted. And just how are we supposed to do that? None of us have any fishing equipment. The imp shrugged. That's where I come in. As the adventurers watched in amazement, the imp waved its tiny arms and began to chant in an unfamiliar language. Suddenly, the water began to swirl and form a small whirlpool in the center of the stream. Fish started to jump out of the water and into the whirlpool, drawn in by the magical force. Wow, that's incredible, Ortega exclaimed, rushing towards the edge of the stream to catch a fish. Of course it is, the imp said smugly. I'm full of surprises. Mina rolled her eyes. You're full of something, that's for sure. The imp cackled in the background. Looks like I'm the hero of the day then. Daily summary. Ortega has learned new skills. Fishing 1. Ortega learned how to properly catch and handle fish. Survival 2. Ortega had to rely on his survival skills to find food and water in the wilderness. Adaptability 2. Ortega had to adapt to the changing circumstances and unexpected challenges in the wilderness. Ortega has made advancements in the following skills. Cooking 2. Improvised cooking. Ortega had to cook using limited resources and in unfamiliar conditions.
Ortega, we need to leave. Now!
Ortega, and Togami, a trio full of charm and comedy. We are on a quest to save the day, but we just cannot seem to find our way. A chef with a sawdust sight to see. Bread's not the only thing I can bake for tea. Cooking and combat a strange medley. I've got a recipe for sweet victory. Ortega, Mina, and Togami, the honest crew you ever will see. With our songs, our spells, and snarky wit, they'll fight their way through almost any shit. Watch out for me, now don't make me mad, or you will feel my wrath, it's awfully bad. I've got a temper and sharp wit too. Best stay on my good side, it's better for you. Ortega, Mina, and Togami, you are in love of me, I can clearly see. My talents just cannot be denied. I'll lead us to victory with pride. Hey now, do not be so hard on me. I'm enjoying freedom, can't you see? These two take themselves seriously, but anyone. I just want to live my life carefree. Atagami no and Togami, we have been through it all, don't you see? We are quite the likely team, but together we are the ultimate meme.
Well, that about wraps it up for another episode of Into a Different Realm. It was a good one. It was a fun one. I enjoyed it. We got a few things to mention, first and foremost. You know where we're going. We got some questions to answer, don't we? So the two animations that were generated by the AI. I don't think anyone's going to be particularly shocked at the first one. So this arrow animation. It starts off so well, and then it goes so poorly. I do love the comical spin at the end, though. But I'll take it, he gets thwacked. We got some solid words that you don't get to use very often coming up in here. Like thwacked. Good stuff. But yes, if you watch the arrow, it travels, it comes out from behind Mina, at sort of roughly the right height. I mean, that's fine, it's whatever. Aiming for the rabbit, not bad, not bad. Goes off at an angle, I'm okay with this. Generally speaking, I imagine the arrow to do something like this. And this is the description I wrote. The arrow fires from Mina, goes towards the rabbit, but then, instead of hitting the rabbit, it starts to curve upwards, loops in the air, comes back and hits Ortega in the shoulder. That was my intention. So up, and down. Like that. It's not what happened. But you see here, it's kind of doing this, right? We're going towards the top corner, we're doing a bit of a loop, and then the rotations end. And it all goes to hell and back. It tried, bless it tried. It's also, I let the AI decide the speed of the arrow, and it's hilariously slow, but I'm not changing it. Okay, that was the first one. The second animation, which isn't the rabbit bounding away. The second animation is... I'm going the wrong way. This one. So, this description for the animation, with these weird stochastic movements, was just this. Ortega and Mina sprint away as fast as they could, dodging trees and jumping over logs. So the AI is taking this very literally. It goes, oh, sprint away, jump over log. Wait, he said logs. Jumping over logs, plural. Better do it twice. Sprint away, jump. Sprint away, jump. It's trying. I'd like the jump to be as we're travelling, rather than come to a stop, jump, because now it kind of implies the logs are rolling towards me. But I don't know, it tried its best, bless it. Alright, that's not what you're here for. You're here for the dodgy picture. And you've probably... I'm going to read your mind now. You've analysed everything and you've gone, I know what the dodgy picture was. It's obvious. Everyone knows what the dodgy picture is, right? It's this. It has to be this. Surely it's this. This is the easiest thing to make a dodgy. But, no. This picture's an interesting one, by the way. So the description for this picture is that something... I'm paraphrasing a bit here. But it was something like... Mina wakes Ortega up from sleep in the middle of the night. Now, the background wasn't black. I made the background black because the background was originally a bedroom. So I did have to edit that slightly, but that's not the one I'm counting here. It's put Mina in pyjamas. I could have fixed that, I guess, by specifying what she should be wearing at the time, but I don't know, it's fine. Whatever. The actual picture that came up unusable for YouTube was this one. Here's a bit of a surprise for you. This guy. So the description for this was a large and menacing demon that is often kept in reserve for battles. I used that entire section of the text to generate this demon. And that is what he is, but that was my second attempt. First attempt, when I tried to generate that demon, I got, shall we say, a succubus. And she wasn't a video game succubus. She was an anime succubus, and I would say she was about 90% flesh and about 10% thread. and large was applied to a certain aspect of her body that it didn't need to be, and that particular aspect of her body took up about 50% of the frame. She was, as the youth would say, very thick, but she was not YouTube friendly, so that had to be redone, and on a second attempt it made it some muscly male demon, which is safer. So there you go, that's your dubious picture. And that's the first not safe for work picture I've had in this entire project, so that's kinda good. Other things that I think are worth talking about here. So with the sound, I've started to use specific music for specific things, you may have noticed. So I've always used the same battle track whenever there's action happening. I use it here when the animals are running wild. But now I've tried to give other music scores a kind of meaning, and this is my own interpretation of how the music should be used. So Imp's theme is obviously the slapstick slide whistle music that is fantastic for the Imp. But I've also started to give other characters music now. So Mina has her own theme and Yamada has her own theme. It's only those three at the moment. But we'll make themes for everyone and we'll use them as and when it's relevant. But I like the way the music is advancing. As far as my favourite parts of this particular episode go, I'll just explain one thing that I did here, and I don't know if I like it or not. I like some of them, but not all of them. So, the AI decided to split the characters off and then to have 3 separate scenarios. So we're all together, we all split off, have our 3 separate scenarios, we all rejoin for a finale. Nice structure to a chapter, to be honest. And I decided it would be nice to have a sort of custom ending splash screen image at the end of each chapter. And so I took my pre-existing artwork that had already been generated and I ran it through something that we can vaguely call an HD image generator. So if I put in stock Mina, who looks kind of, she's alright, but you know, it's not the best. And then it does this. And when I say HD, for the most part, it just blurs things. But there she is. So this is Ortega looking at Mina. I typed in their expressions, so Mina's scared and worried. Ortega's a bit grumpy because he's blaming Mina at this. Yes. And here you go, so the ending splash screen. I tried to make them look kind of close because they're supposed to be huddling together in a tree. I think it works out okay. By far the best one is Tagami's. So this description is Tagami, provided reference to a picture of Tagami, and then I said, covered in moss. Which it has done, and it has put moss on his hat, put moss in his eyes, and made him eat some moss. Which looks a bit like lettuce. But look at base Tagami, the faces are always a bit weak on Tagami, to be honest with you. This face is solid. Like, there's nothing wrong with this. If Tagami's default picture looked like this, he looks fresh out of an anime. I don't know what this is. Tagami's faces never look I mean, that's kind of cool, but Tagami's faces are a bit suspect. This is, I mean, it fits, right? It's not bad. This is probably my favourite individual image of this chapter. My favourite series of images of the chapter, as you can probably guess, is this. So what we have here in the background is a generated woodland scene with some mushrooms. Specified mushrooms. And then take that same image, put it back in, and I wrote a description of something like image of a woodland scene with mushrooms on an acid trip. I think I said whilst tripping on shrooms, and I wrote shrooms instead of mushrooms to be all cool and edgy. And this is what I got. I thought this was great. But then I took this warped image and I put it back in with the same description. So this image, tripping on shrooms, it gets even trippier. And I love the way that it maintains the same structure of the forest. But this image is great for a bit of surrealism, right? The roots of the trees have kind of become like veins, and all of the harsh edges in the ground, they've all blurred into these curves. It's become sort of organic and flowing. I really like it. And you notice the forest in the background's kind of holding up. I don't know what happened to the trees in the background, but I don't know. I like this sort of veiny tree for someone who's losing it. Also, you may not have noticed, because it's quite subtle, but as he finally slips into madness, Imp's face turns evil. You can interpret that as whether he's evil or whether it's Yamada's eyesight playing tricks on him, but there you go. This guy's cool. I like him. Oh, interesting though. He is called Top Hat Toad, and he is always referred to as a toad, and his image creation used the word toad. Dude's clearly a frog. I don't know what I'm looking at. He's a frog, right? Anyone got any doubt? This guy's a frog. Anyway, final one of the big three images here. So, I took a picture of Yamada, and I inputted the fact that he was playing croquet, and so it immediately put him in some kind of Sunday Best Country Club outfit. And it changed his sword into a croquet club. You can't see that because it's cut off at the bottom, but it is. It's a croquet club. Or mallet, I think they're called. I don't know what happened when I HD'd up the frog. His lips kind of went wonky and he lost his monocle. That's kind of a shame, but there you go. It's all a bit of fun. We got some serious cliffhangers, though. Yeah, don't look at this. I thought this was a particularly cool cliffhanger, and you can guess what the voice is at the end here if you want. Maybe it's me. You're the voice changer. I don't know. Might be. Maybe it's a completely synthetic voice. Maybe I got a friend to record this voice. Who knows? It could be anything. But good cliffhanger, I think. Good cliffhanger. Anyway, that'll do it for Into a Different Realm, chapter number 4. We will be continuing, and hopefully you'll join me for that, and I shall see you then.